Dear friends, I'm glad to see you all on Feygin Live. It is Wednesday, June 8th, 2 minutes past 10 Kiev time, and we are starting our cast with Olexiy Arestovych, day 105. Good evening, everybody. Everything as usual. Subscribe to Feygin Live, to Alexei's channel. In the link underneath that video, you can find appropriate links. If you're listening to that in English, subscribe to the privateer station. Alright, let's start with the news. Olexiy, what we paused at, what we have been discussing last time, what is happening on the front, and what is with Severodonetsk. Well, there are strange things happening there. For real? Yes. We were waiting for the Russian offensive. We were waiting for the whole week to be super rough, but they, I guess, decided to laugh at us and canceled it. They kind of actually started, but they're not really putting their heart in it. They're relying on their artillery, and they're not really going forward much. In Severodonetsk, they suffered severe losses in terms of troops. Tell us the numbers. Hundreds, literally hundreds. So where are they lying? Some are laying on the fields, some are in the rubble of the destroyed houses, some were exploded in their armor equipment. That's all around Severodonetsk. Today they made an attempt to cut the road again, and it did not work out for them well. They tried to approach Lysychansk from the south, did not work as well. Izum is not even moving. They kind of keeping their mum there. Liman is also very shy today. Very surprising, actually. So Severodonetsk, who owns it percentage-wise? They broke close engagement and they just use artillery and aviation on the city. So it's basically a lot of empty space between us. And their artillery is hitting the city without much success, but there are no close contacts. They canceled the engagement. How can you explain that? Are they regrouping, resupplying? I think their management changed, and management is displaying new style, and they're either doing it because they're smart or because they understood that the forces are broken, and the death of one of the generals, Kutuzov, the guy who died trying to lift their airborne troops into assault, that perhaps is a good indicator of the moral quality of the troops when some of the elites need to be pushed by their own general. And who has the body? We don't know that yet. It doesn't really matter, but we got the confirmation that we got him. And Russian airborne troops, they usually are elite. So if their morale is low, if they need extra push from their superior command, what can you expect from the rest? So the only way to deal with it is either harden the discipline everywhere, because they already counted quite a few cases when Russian troops ran their commander over by tank, shot him, hit him, just left the battlefield. So there's only so far you can tighten the bolts. They don't have a solution for this. They don't have a disciplinary solution for this. They have a solution to maybe change paradigm. And I suspect what is happening there is a conversation. Dear comrade soldiers and officers, see how we are taking care of you? We are shelling them first. We're not sending you in that hellfire. let's work with artillery, aviation, we'll accumulate more troops. Intel will investigate the best paths forward, and then we'll use those secret paths to get to the enemy. Because I can say that compared with the previous troops, previous methods, how they did it before, they have enough troops to follow the same concept as they did just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. The previous commander would have thrown them in battle and they would have been guided just as before. And this week is still minor tactical skirmishes, aviation, artillery, and we also have artillery and aviation. They even tried to research new crossing opportunities near Siversky Donetsk River. They tried to feel certain parts of the city and tried to get from Popasny to the road, got their butt handed to them everywhere, and what I do like about our troops, I've been there recently, they really have a really good morale. We're not giving our troops. We're not giving our territory. We're not giving our land. So that's precious. That confidence is achieved by practice. When you can achieve the goals and tasks that you have and you see that you can, that's when your decisiveness is seen, is visible on the battlefield. Similar thing is happening on the Zaporozhye direction. How does that look there? We expected a scary offensive from Vasilievka up north, and instead it didn't happen. They dug in their tanks, almost 30-something tanks in there. It's about a tank battalion, which is a very valuable quantity. They also took some troops and they threw them somewhere. I suspect probably Kherson. That's where they are sending them to, where we, remember, crossed the river and made grabbed a little bit. And we cancelled their attempts to push us back across the river, and we continued the advance now. We destroyed roughly about one tactical group, and we continue to advance forward. And they also got a little bit from artillery, and while they were hiding from it, our troops advanced a little more. So it seems maybe they took those troops from Zaporozhye to Kherson area. But all that allows me to make certain suppositions, not conclusions, but at least suppositions. They brought everything they could to Popasny. And I mean, everything in the vicinity is like 150 to 200 kilometers. So everything they could take from that area, they threw near Popasny. Previously, this hasn't happened. Russian army had a chance to advance on two different directions without borrowing battle-worthy troops from neighbors. Now all the relatively good troops are near Popasny, and so far without any success. That's a new factor that we need to mention. Another, I've not seen them previously taking troops from Zaporozhye to Kherson region. This is the first time, and this is basically the change of the character of war. They're losing ability and power, without making the rest of the front worthless. They're losing effort, they're losing capacity to reach main goals on the main directions, because they need serious success on the east. Advance in Zaporozhye without serious success on the east is impossible. Without that, they'll need to withdraw the troops, prep them, restock them, refit them, bring them back to Zaporozhye, and then try to advance again. This is a long story. Very uncomfortable news for them, because in that time frame we likely will have extra equipment arriving to our front from the west. So since that time they're starting to lose on the tempo. And if they have no success in the east, if we actually destroy them there, I don't know what they'll use to advance in Zaporozhye. I think maybe we have overestimated them. I cannot exclude that probability. 2-3 days ago you said, remember at our stream, you said the week will be really difficult. Do you think we can speak now that they will not take Severodonetsk on the road? As of today, I don't see them taking Severodonetsk, and I don't see them taking that road to Bakhmut. Now the question is, what are they going to do? There are probably two possible opportunities here. So they either started to save the actual physical force because they don't have much reinforcement, or they're waiting for reinforcement, which also is a part of the first. Because if they had enough forces, they would continue their offensive. They have pretty high goals and tasks in front of them. By the way, people from Moscow were telling us that they had a meeting at Putin's a day before yesterday, and he was screaming really bad at his generals. He was very upset with things. I think we know why. Probably they did not complete something they promised. Wonder what could that be? A question is that I'm very careful at predicting that, but some signs of what's happening is hopeful. Not so much that they did not start their offensive on the east, but the fact that they started withdrawing some parts, some troops from Donetsk-Popasny to Popasny. Keeping fingers crossed, but the signs are somewhat promising. Yeah, we're waiting for Volodya to come down to the trenches with a pistol. If it is what I think, this might have very scary titles in the media. If it is what I think, if they kind of died and they are incapable of continuing their advance, and they can barely protect what they have, that means they have lost the tempo war even before the Lend-Lease came here. On the tempo capabilities, they might be losing now. On the other hand, maybe they're preparing a very serious restocking, refitting for their troops somewhere in the depth of Russian Federation. But for now, they appear to be quite dead on the major directions. Maybe they're giggling now and they will advance 2 days from now. But I kind of don't believe that. When you have the capability to advance, you don't scrape for assistance from the nearby front lines. I'm just thinking strategically here. They've been fighting for about 100 days. They should have reached summer with very different metrics. And those promises fulfilled is what Putin was demanding from them. And they did need to get to administrative borders of Lugansk and Donetsk regions, and they already mentioned those referendums. There was some information that they will go that route. And what do you bring for referendum now? Pieces of land? Incomplete regions? They need to show Kiev that, look, we keep the status quo, we took the whole region. So you want to say something something that we've always thought about Putin's regime, their industrial smoke and mirrors, and that's their main skill. They're creating virtual reality, that's the thing. Oh yeah, no, they're fucktards. But in real life, they are creating smoke and mirrors for their Western collaborators. They're direct agents and fools in the West. They create that smoke and mirrors vision of victorious step of Russian armor and adding new lands to their territories. And they really need to, and that's what they aim to. They create that virtual bubble of the war is difficult. Yes, we're losing a lot of troops, but we're still trying to not hurt local citizens much, and it's slow because we're trying to save them. But yet we told you that resistance is futile. We'll achieve our goals here. I have a question. Yo, Kremlin dudes, what referendum do you talk about when Ukraine military groups are 20 miles near Kherson? We're just 20 miles outside the city. What referendum in there are you talking about? How else can you explain? You really need a serious virtual bubble. Otherwise, how else can you hide the thunder of artillery 20 miles outside? And we're not even talking about the major Lend-Lease support. We're bowing to Norway people and government who sent us stuff and Americans. But what we have now is not too much. There is more promised that is coming. So remember those big pincer movement that was growing smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually became a tweezer thing, and even tweezers can't even close now. Their online troops already promised Severodonetsk taken, but still nothing. Even Donetsk region is Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Konstantinovka. Good luck taking that, even if you have enough troops and forces. It would be difficult, and we see now how they are taking Severodonetsk now. So we have a question. Should we announce that the king is naked? That their virtual reality is based on the scared West and trodden down Ukrainian people, depressed and scared? Can we say that the virtual reality broke over our troops? We're not giving them Severodonetsk or Kherson and Zaporozhye. It does look rather optimistic. I'm not ready yet to announce it, but I'm ready to review that as a hypothesis. Because two very important factors. Troops from around Popasna to be gathered there, and troops from Vasilievka thrown to Kherson. It is not a fantasy, it is the situation where they take from rather serious areas, not the main, but rather key areas, to reinforce the major directions. That indicates threat and bad news for any army in the world. So today some media was asking me, so we will not be able to resist that referendum they're doing there? Well, that's the thing, we will. And they're screaming about referendum because we are almost there. We're approaching the city limits. And yeah, you guys can, take those papers on referendum with you when you'll be fleeing the city. Otherwise, we'll have to fold it and, shove it where. So, yeah, that's interesting perspective, right? We got almost 368,000 people watching us live. Please share links to us, to this conversation. Subscribe to our channels. I just got 1.5 million subscribers. Olexiy has more. And it's great because we have rather stable viewers. Those who watch, those are the ones subscribing according to the stats. If you're watching that in English, subscribe to the Privateer station. We are following these conversations daily. All right. Next question. In your mind, what is happening with Europe? Because regardless of all these screams and headbutting and other plans for peace, Kiev said no, we're not doing it. And nothing is happening, right? Lavrov is meeting Turkey. And one of the journalists asked him questions. So, where are you selling the stolen grain, the grain that you steal with Ukraine? So they're already feeling all the animosity, even in the interviews, even in Turkey. Why are they doing all these visits and expose themselves to attacks? Well, it's the technology. They're playing constructive approach. They said we are ready for negotiations. And when does Kremlin go talk negotiations? Yeah, there's only one reason: when it's real bad. Because when it's good, you don't go negotiating. So that's another sign of things going pretty bad for them. So all these attempts to try to negotiate things is a sign about bad things happening in Moscow. When Europeans are different, we should differentiate them. There is a top of European bureaucracy, and good, I'm meaning that in a good way. They're saying that, yes, we're ready to fight Putin's regime. These crimes have no time. Russian army needs to suffer defeat. Regime needs to be destroyed. And they need to lose capability to dictate anything by force. And they're following the American view. England, Baltic countries, Poland, our alliance here. And then there is another group of Europeans who are kind of continental Europe that is balancing the way they see it. It needs to balance the American influence and Britain's and their leaders who are trying to sit on two chairs and try to invent things. And they were happy to believe in Russian virtual reality because it completely matches their goals and tasks of internal and external politics, which sound something like this. Yes, Putin made a mistake. Merkel and Macron used that word. So Bucha is a mistake, is an error, with people killed, children raped. Second, they need to let Russia save face. Whom? Third question. Well, Ukraine, you might consider giving up some territories to Russia. To whom? To those idiots who announced referendum when we're about to storm the city? Or the ones who promised to do a pincer movement near Dnieper and after 50 days of offensive cannot take half the Severodonetsk? Whom should we give our territories to? We'll kick them out of here ourselves. And that's otherwise Russian statement, Russian virtual reality is appealing to them. When they become somewhat important, they become leaders in the international negotiations, and they have a chance to explain to Americans that Europe has its own game. America, we're playing for you. Russia, we're helping you. Ukraine, we're helping you. And then in reality, it's the game of very specific groups that are trying to make money at the expense of Ukraine. And I want to say that Ukrainian military and Ukrainian people and the tears of Ukrainian kids closed the opportunity for that game forever. So we're not giving our land. So that Europe is still discussing stuff with Russia. What are they talking about? I don't know. Perhaps about the way they're going to be stealing and sharing our grains. And another statement I heard today is that you guys can discuss and agree on different things, but Ukraine will be the only one making decisions about how to sell their grain and their materials. And when Russia retreats and withdraws out of the territory, then maybe Ukraine will consider supplying the food to the countries in Africa that are suffering famine. Withdraw everything, and we might distribute food, but not let just us taking the mines off and going delivering grain while with Russians trying to follow the same routes to attack our ports. We cannot take the mines off the ports. If you want us to do anything like that, you gotta help us. You gotta withdraw from this territory and move your troops outside. So, can we? I have a question. Can we sink Black Sea ships, Russian Black Sea fleet with brimstone and harpoons? There are some conversations about these rockets coming. There is a chance. But our main goal, our main vision is that grain sales by Ukraine to other countries will be supported and security will be provided by our military. We are not just opening ports and sending stuff out. And if you want us to just open ports and trade everything and then let Russians do stuff the way they want, and you want to tell us to give up the land, here's what we tell you. I'm going to be rough, but that's what we're giving you. You can cover in your virtual reality, but nothing will come out of it. I see you're picking some words. You didn't go all the way into expletives today. But I do see that 470,000 people are watching now and appreciating your communication. What is strange is that I have another question here. I want to address one aspect. We did talk about the list, about the McFaul's Commission. McFaul Yermak listings. They're long, they're extensive. And we see things are not moving anywhere with creating a trust fund for Ukraine. There are a lot of announcements initially, but then everything seemed to have frozen. So I have a interesting. I have my own interest in this. So that Aswel Simonyan, Russian propagandist, started a lawsuit against me in Russia virtually, and she claimed that she won, and that judge, the kangaroo court, supported her, and I owe her 300,000 Russian rubles. But she has house in Nice in Italy. So I wonder if we should start perhaps sharing Russian propagandist property and Russian oligarchs' property. Ukraine needs money. A lot of people need money. What do you say? McFaul Yermak Commission loves Simonyan, and that commission will get to her eventually. We'll get slow down from that hill and we'll own the whole flock, the whole herd. Yes, I understand. But we need to expedite it a little. Come on, we're not 20, we're 40 somethings. So there's no reason for us to be in a rush. Everything will be slow and unavoidable. So confiscation of her property is only part of a plan? What is the goal? Oh yeah. That the goal is to take it and to give it to Ukraine. On the West, they're rubbing their hands happily, saying, "Of course, we'll help Ukraine to restore itself." But those people who started the war, they definitely need to pay. And $310 billion is roughly the amount of Russian assets that needs to be converted into money and given to Ukraine. It's taking time. It's long. Of course, it's private property, so the West needs to somewhat of a process of respect to private property and the procedural things that need to happen for that to be converted into money for Ukraine. Well, we've seen things with Libya and their property, but it took time. Lockerbie case also took time. But I also wanted to say that 170 billion that Libya had on the Western accounts never came back to the country. Well, Lockerbie is not just about the sanctions. It's about a certain decision that follows a step. So right now we need to make a proper judgment on the property of Russian oligarchs seized overseas, because when you say that it's seized because of the error, there's not much you can do. Your freedom of maneuver is pretty limited. So you need to approach it proper from the legal side to be able to get everything. And we need to reach all of them, because all these propagandists, we totally need to get them. Of course, because they are the ones responsible for that poison in Europe, northeastern Russian swampy poison. In terms of corruption. Mark, answer me a question. Some people are saying people are saying you're tall, right? You're 6'1.5". Kinda, almost. I'm pretty tall, and I'm not even talking about other parameters, not to offend your macho symbol. I'm a big guy, yes. My fists are about the size of their heads. So we can use you, Mark, later. You can actually kick that chair from underneath the main culprit when time comes. I'm always ready. We've been 33 minutes live, and I did not want to make it too difficult because we have good news, and people need to digest that and share it, and come see us tomorrow on Thursday. Mark, we cannot do it tomorrow. I'm on a light trip, so we'll miss Thursday, but we'll continue on Friday. All right, dear friends, we'll have a bit of a break on Thursday. We'll do another cast, another stream, but this does not relieve you from sending links to that cast to your friends, and subscribe to Feygin Live and to Olexiy Arestovych and to the Privateer Station if you're watching that in English. Do not forget that like, that is super important, and we'll see you on Friday. Everything good for everybody, and see you then. Good luck. See you.